Welcome to I Am Your Father, a podcast where a father and son nerd out and discuss movies, TV, and everything in between.
All right. Will the generational gap divide or connect?
All right.
I think that's not quite how you wrote the line, son.
No, it's not.
No, I ad-libbed a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think you were looking at your sheet.
No, I wanted to look at the camera, but we're still working out the kinks here. So
It's okay. Second recording, this time in person.
yeah,
So
it was an unexpected opportunity.
impromptu recording.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Well, we want to start us off with our first game here.
Yeah, absolutely. So this first game, I guess you could call it BS or franchise war, whatever you might want to say. Plays a lot like BS. We're just going to pick a movie franchise. We're going to go back and forth. So let's say we pick Star Wars, which maybe we will today.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I can name 10 Star Wars characters. And if you think you can name more, you'll go higher until one of us calls BS on the other and they have to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, that based on my older brain, you have an advantage on me, regardless of what franchise we pick.
I don't know. I think you've had more time with the franchise.
For sure, but I've had more time to forget names, which is, what's that phrase? I've forgotten more than you ever learned, son.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that might be the case here.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Plus with Star Wars, I mean, you have a whole, you have a significantly deeper dive into the tertiary Star Wars material. A lot of the animated stuff and things like that,
It's true, but I actually feel like Star Wars characters are maybe harder to name than any other franchise I'm familiar with.
You think?
I mean, oftentimes they are not English names. They're alien names.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
other than the obvious ones. So should we do Star Wars? You want to do that?
Sure, we can do that.
All right.
Let's do Star Wars.
You want to start us off? Be bold.
I'll start with 10.
10? All right. That's pretty easy, I think. I'll do 15.
Can I get to 18? I'll go to 20.
20? Oof. I'm going to go 25.
Oh. I kind of am not sure that I can do. I think my brain will fall off. I'm going to call BS, and we're going to time you on the 25.
Alrighty.
How long do you have?
Well, it's not so much a time thing as it is just
Can you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, if the course of 3 hours.
If I'm sitting there for more than like 30 seconds without having named one, I think we can go ahead and call it.
All right. So you have 10 second, and then you run out of time.
10 seconds. Okay.
10 seconds in between max. Yeah.
You're just eyeballing it.
I'm gonna count in my head, I guess. Right.
All right.
What do you got? Ready? And go.
Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, different characters. Emperor Palpatine, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2. Those are the main ones. Then you have Rey, Skywalker, Palpatine, Finn, Poe, Padme, and Queen Amidala. Technically same character, I guess.
Yeah, you're still at 13.
Okay. Darth Maul, General Grievous, Count Dooku, Jabba the Hutt, Lando Calrissian, Andor, Jyn Erso.
That's 20.
That's 20. I need. What did I say? 25.
Five more.
25. Okay. It's getting tricky already. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna go BB-8.
Ooh.
K2SO.
Uh-huh.
I know that Yoda. How could I forget Yoda?
Uh-huh.
Are you kidding me? Yoda, Plo Koon, Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, that's 25.
That's 25?
You got the 25.
I'm kind of drawing a blank past that. Oh, Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Did you say Dooku?
I did say Dooku.
Okay.
Then there's also, oh man, what is his
Rex.
name? Oh yeah, then you have Ahsoka, Rex, Fives, all the Clone Wars characters.
Yeah.
But then
honestly, there's hundreds and hundreds. And
there's
hundreds
so
of
many,
them,
but I'm specifically drawing a blank. What is the name of the fake out villain of The Last Jedi? What is his name?
The fake out villain?
Andy Serkis plays him?
Oh, yeah. Tyrannus? No. I don't know.
Dude, I don't know, but I got the 25.
Yeah, you did. You got 25.
And I didn't even go to any Rebels characters now that I think about it.
Yeah, no.
I love that show.
You had that ready to go.
Didn't even name one of my favorite characters, Kanan Jarrus. He's a great character.
All right. Are you going to time us on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me pull that up real quick.
All right. Our next segment, we've got our 10 and 20. We've got 10 fresh topics we're going to cover today. 1 minute per topic, and then we move right on.
Yep.
Are you ready?
No, but we can go ahead and get started.
Okay. All right. Topic number 1. It's just been announced that Sadie Sink will be joining the cast of Spider-Man 4. Sadie Sink of Stranger Things and Taylor Swift Extended Universe. What are your thoughts on her, and do you have any predictions on character? I don't think it's officially been announced, right?
No, not officially been announced. A lot of people are thinking maybe Mary Jane, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, seeing as we have an MJ.
Yeah, I didn't
already.
think that works. Yeah, I feel like they already did their version of Mary Jane.
Yes, other people. She's been fan cast as Jean Grey for a very long time, but I would be very surprised if they introduced Jean Grey in Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, me too.
Though I do think that's great casting for her. I personally think they might go like the Black Cat route. I know she is famously a blonde or has white hair, but I think they can make it work.
Well, I mean, she can wear a wig or dye her hair.
Exactly.
She doesn't have to be redheaded. I know that's like her signature, but
no, I think she's actually a great actress, and if you haven't seen the Taylor Swift music video, she's phenomenal in that. So I think she'll be a great addition to the movie. But I think it is important who she plays. Obviously, I don't think they'd add her to just be a minor character, just another love interest. I don't think she'd be a Gwen Stacy or anything like that, and I hope they don't really go that route. Mm-hmm. I don't really want them to have a new love interest right off the bat, unless maybe it is Black Cat.
Yeah,
it's always an interesting dynamic.
Well, there was all three really, and so I was kind of leaning personally toward Gwen Stacy, thinking that might be the direction that they go.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I just don't know that I would enjoy that route as much.
Fair enough. All right. Topic number 2, Mythic Quest. We're now in season 4. Is this the best kept secret in all of nerddom? The first answer's got to be yes.
I don't even know what
because
it is.
You don't know what I'm talking about. Mythic Quest is a show that is now going on. It's just started season 4, and or rather, almost completed season 4. It's available on Apple Plus. And the premise is that it's essentially like kind of like the Office, except it's not a mockumentary, but it takes place at an office, and it's the office of a video game company that is doing sort of a World of Warcraft kind of Destiny-esque kind of game somewhere in that. And where there's constant expansions and all this, but it's the crazy founder who thinks of himself in a very messianic way, and his strange head developer, head engineer, and all the rest of the cast of characters. Some actors you'll recognize, some you won't, but I got to tell you, it is one of the funniest and strangest and at times most heartwarming shows I've seen in a really long time, and I definitely think if you are a sci-fi video game nerd, you should be watching Mythic Quest.
I don't even know how. I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So I had missed, I'd seen some advertising, but I missed some of the, I'd missed the first few seasons. I started watching it really during or late COVID, I would say, is when I picked it up, and seasons 3 and 4 come out post, and so it's really good. So highly recommend it.
You said Apple TV Plus?
Apple TV Plus, yeah,
okay,
is where it's available. So you can stream all 4 seasons. I think the season finale of season 4 comes out this week or next.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm
underrated show. Definitely get into it. But yeah, I think it'll surprise you. It's one thing on the surface. It's something else entirely the further you get in.
Yeah, sounds fun. I'll add it to the long list of shows you have me needing to watch.
Exactly. Well, you've got me on a few ones as well, which we'll get to eventually.
Yeah. All right. Next, Carl Urban. First look as Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat. I know you're not a huge Mortal Kombat guy.
No, I've never been super into it, and I've not been pleased with the entries into the film franchise. I mean, there's certainly some standout performances, but generally speaking, it really hasn't captured my imagination the way that the video game did for 12-year-old Graham.
Yeah.
But I think that I've kind of been just sitting on the sideline on this one, waiting for it to pass by, so something more interesting can come along. But I do I do at times like Carl Urban.
Yeah, I like him too. In terms of the last movie, it's not very good. I I wanted to like it. I don't think I really did like it. But they also tried to tell a very non-Mortal Kombat story that didn't even follow the tournament or anything like that, with the main character being a new character that nobody was familiar with.
Yeah.
Which I think was probably a mistake. So it's possible with this new one, Johnny Cage being the audience surrogate and the new main character with Carl Urban playing him. I think it might be fun, but it could be just as bad as the last one. So,
I mean, my first reaction was he felt older to me than Johnny Cage should be.
I agree. I don't think it's perfect casting.
Yeah.
I think he just has the snarky wit, and some handsome good looks, but I think he is a little too old as well. There were definitely some other people I think could have played him a little better, a little fresher, but
fair enough.
We'll see how it is.
Well, we are really already going over time on this, so let's go on to number 4. It was just recently announced that Jonathan Majors is interested, and Michael B. Jordan is also interested in having Jonathan Majors come back for Creed 4.
Right.
You and I have both been big Creed fans. What are your thoughts on Majors returning?
Well, first off, I think the Creed franchise, especially the first two, just some of my favorite movies ever. I adore them quite a bit beyond, I think, the average audience member, but I love those movies. I really enjoyed the third one. I didn't love it as much as the other two, but there's a lot of reasons for that, and I think Jonathan Majors' performance was not one of those reasons. I thought he was amazing and just a really compelling character, a really compelling performance. I'm not too educated on the whole situation that's gone down with him recently. Why or why not he is canceled and unemployed. But as far as his performance in Creed 3 and what they could do in Creed 4, I would love to see him back for that, because I love those movies and he did a great job.
First thing I ever saw him in was Lovecraft Country on HBO, which was really fantastic. He and a few of the other actors really stood out to me in that show. And then I've been following him and really, thinking he was going to be one of the next big things. I guess my thought would be, if he serves the time, if he's from the conviction, I mean, his ability to be to redeem himself shouldn't be held back by popular culture. So I personally am not a fan of the concept that even someone's worst moment should define them completely. So I hope that he's learned that he from his transgressions, and that he can come back and be a better person for it. And I think it's going to have to be a topic he'll have to address, though. But I personally would like to see him come back, much in the vein of Creed coming back, Apollo Creed coming back in Rocky 3.
Yeah.
And, having lost that belt and being that sort of, Yoda-esque figure for Rocky. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it works good.
Yeah.
We've got another casting piece of information. Ryan Hurst has joined the cast of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Thoughts on that?
I love him.
I do too. He's
great in Sons of Anarchy.
I still have PTSD over Pipe.
Yeah.
I'm still, R.I.P. Opie.
I mean, every day this cast list just grows. It feels very much like an Oppenheimer situation where they're just releasing one name per week to kind of just blow your mind a little bit, get you more excited. And I have to say that this just might be my most anticipated movie ever, outside of like how I felt about some comic book movies growing up. I mean, Christopher Nolan, my favorite director, and just this kind of ancient mythological landscape is just like my favorite place to spend time.
Little swords and sandals action.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, this is perfect. This is everything I'm hoping it'll be. Everything I'm hearing about it is only getting me more and more excited, I think. And him being added to the cast, he's a pretty cool dude. Yeah.
No, I like him a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing him there. Kind of perfect casting. I also feel like he's underutilized in Hollywood. I think that he could definitely be doing more, and I don't know what the reasons are behind that, but I'd love to see him more. I'm excited that he's going to be in this really high profile movie that gets a lot of attention. I think it'll be great for him, and I think it'll be great for us as audience members.
Yeah. Side note: he's even rumored to be showing up in Invincible pretty soon, which I know we'll get to that as well.
As a voice actor.
He's a great voice actor too. He does some voices and some other things.
Yeah.
People really love him.
Okay.
But
one of
moving
the
on.
one of the most fascinating transitions as an actor. I mean, I think I was a solid season into Sons of Anarchy before I realized who he was as an actor.
Yeah.
But anyway, great. Yeah. So number 6, what do you got?
The Rock will lead Scorsese's next film.
Yeah. It's a hard pass for me. I don't get it. I honestly, when I read this particular thing, I thought that it was an April Fool's joke, a little ahead of it, a few weeks ahead. I don't get it. I don't. I mean, and God knows. I mean, the last time that Emily Blunt and The Rock were together, it didn't work out very well either.
Not at all.
Certainly, he's playing a part, from what I understand, that makes a little more sense for him. Being that he's playing essentially a Hawaiian kingpin.
Yeah.
From what I understand, but I don't think that. I have real trouble taking The Rock seriously in anything.
Yeah.
I think that he is best used in comedy. Yep. Jumanji, for example, I found myself laughing much more and enjoying both of those reboots than I anticipated seeing. But I'm going to really struggle to see him in a prestige picture directed by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, I think he's definitely hoping to do a little bit of a, like change his image up a little bit. Because he's going to be in an A24 movie coming up pretty soon as well.
I mean, why is he back wrestling then? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels to me like he reached a natural pendulum swing where it was like, okay, well, I was the highest paid actor in Hollywood. Now if they're bored of me, I'm going back to my roots and I'm going to be on the mat again. I
can tell you exactly why.
Give it to me.
Because he put all of his eggs in the Black Adam basket, and that bombed about as hard as it could, and he vowed to never return to Fast and Furious, and right after that movie came out, he showed back up in that, and he showed back up in the WWE. I think he needed a paycheck. I think he was hurting a little bit.
Needed to remind everybody why they liked him.
Yeah, exactly.
So to speak. Well, I mean, Black Adam was not the only bomb he had. He had 3 bombs in a row, and I think
maybe more.
Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah.
So personally, I'm coming into this extremely skeptical.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next one, we've got a lot of casting conversations this time around. So Daniel Craig as Uncle Andrew in the Narnia series. This is directed by
Greta Gerwig.
Greta Gerwig, thank you.
Yeah.
Of Barbie fame, and the character, the character is, I think, also one of those sleeper good characters in Narnia.
He's important.
Yeah, really important, and potentially also, one of the most important characters in one of maybe my favorite Narnia book, in the Wizard.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No. The prequel, The Magician's Nephew. Yeah, I don't know why I blanked on that.
No,
The Magician's Nephew. It's one of my favorites, but I can't remember the name.
Too.
Yeah.
No.
Again, this old man brain is kicking in. But I think Uncle Andrew. I think Daniel Craig is going to be really good in the role. Personally,
I mean, he's rarely not good. So,
that's true.
And I think, like you said, I think he can kind of bring a fun whimsy maybe. To the character.
He doesn't, for all the Tom Hardy-esque self-seriousness that he oftentimes seems to have, when he gets on camera, he doesn't seem to take himself very seriously at all. It's just in the public eye that he's keeps everybody at arm's distance. But as soon as he takes on a role, he's not afraid to really go all in on it. So
yeah, and I love Narnia. You read them to me growing up, so any Narnia movie is an exciting thing for me.
So Narnia. So I had The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian on LP when I was a kid, and I would go to sleep listening to the audio books, so to speak. Yeah, there were audio books on record. I still, to this day, would love to find those original recordings of especially Prince Caspian. The Prince Caspian recording just, it really, I think, established a baseline of excellent storytelling for me as a kid, and I was really glad to be able to pass that along to you. I was only disappointed that the post Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, I was not a big fan of the rest of the movies that came out. So I felt like it was sort of steadily declining, especially Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I don't know. I think you have greater sense of joy for those films than I did.
Possibly, probably.
Yeah.
All right, why don't you lead us into these next few?
Okay, so moving slightly away from fantasy sci-fi, Reacher season 3. Again, so my question here is, having almost finished season 3, the finale of season 3 comes out this week. Has this franchise stumbled on Amazon Prime? I think the answer is yes. I was a big fan of season 1. I thought season 2 was pretty good. I was excited to jump back into season 3, and I really feel like the season's a bit of a mess. And including some really, really atrocious performances. First and foremost by the female lead, Sonia Cassidy, who is a British actress doing a god-awful Boston accent. Oof. That is really difficult. But
that's rough.
So while I'm not recommending season 3, I am recommending seasons 1 and 2 for you to go back and check out. I think that you will instantly the actor playing Reacher, Alan Rickman. Richardson, yeah. Who you know from most recently the League of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Things,
he was in Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's great.
Big guy.
Yeah, really big guy. And somehow in season 3 they found a villain or a henchman to dwarf him. The new henchman is insane. He's got to be 7 feet tall, and built crazy. and built like Alan. But I would say go back, definitely watch seasons 1 and 2. But I'm curious to know what you think of the show when you get there. But 3, I'm not sure it's working.
I've only heard amazing things about it. Again, that'll probably be the next show I watch. It's been in the watch list for a little bit.
After Mythic Quest or before Mythic Quest?
Before, yeah.
So not to jump back into our list, but Mythic Quest is really digestible. It's like, or snackable. It's only like 30-minute episodes.
Maybe I'll mix and match.
Yeah, although they do some epic episodes where they go longer, but you can definitely take some Mythic Quest in really easily. Okay, I'm going to go to another show which I know you have been watching. Also, season 3, White Lotus. The question is it worth the hype? I'm assuming you've heard hype on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I know season 3 is premiering. Or is
no, it's almost done. It's almost done.
Okay.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I think it's one of those right now. It's probably the show that is most in the zeitgeist in terms of that water cooler kind of conversation.
Okay.
And has been for a few seasons. I don't know that. I think HBO was hoping that House of the Dragon would have that. I don't know that it did really. So I think that White Lotus is really kind of that show that people are watching as close to live as possible and not wanting to get it spoiled on Monday morning kind of thing. I think season 3 so far is every bit as good as the first 2 seasons. It's definitely a specific taste. It is a full-fledged TVMA show, but that deals with some really serious topics, but is also somehow funny at the same time. So I'm enjoying it. It satisfies that mature. It sounds like I'm talking about like pornography, but that mature content need in me, where I want to see something that's actually like made for adults.
Yeah.
In a world of so much superhero shows available, it's a good one.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about Invincible. Loving the superhero genre.
Sure.
Feeling like it's a show being made for adults. So
yeah, I
can appreciate that sentiment.
Well, I mean, and that's probably a decent intro into our next topic, which is kind of 2 topics combined into one, which is from our last episode. We had a few shows that you were touting that I had not seen. Both hadn't got back into Daredevil, Born Again, or Invincible. And I've started both of those shows. Wonderful. And I'm enjoying both of them for sure.
Yeah. How far into each?
Okay, so I'm only 2 episodes into Daredevil. And I think I'm about 6 episodes into Invincible.
So you finished the second episode of Daredevil?
Maybe not. I feel like there's a spoiler that I'm forgetting. I mean, obviously I know the big, the big shocker in episode 1 that I'm assuming nobody saw coming with, I don't want to, in case anybody hasn't seen it yet, but the passing of an individual.
Yeah.
Which definitely caught me off guard considering, that the show had just been rebooted.
Yeah.
But
and how far into Invincible?
Like 6 episodes in.
6 episodes.
Yeah,
nice.
Which I feel like is maybe halfway through the first season. Something like that.
Oh.
And landed somehow perfectly. But yeah, I think they're good recs, and I agree with what you said about Invincible having the right combination of it's the superhero genre, but it still has that a little bit more adult themes and content. Certainly, it's like it's a TVMA Justice League.
Yeah, absolutely, and very similar animation to the Justice League animated series too.
The Unlimited,
which I really appreciate. A lot of people kind of complain it's not quite to the level they would hope the animation would be, and I'm like, this is kind of what I grew up with.
No,
so I'm
yeah,
very happy with it.
It's got an early aughts animation feel to it, and I think a lot of those shows in the early aughts had kind of a updated 80s version,
Yeah, well, I'm hoping you are through the first season by the next time we talk about it, because it's got a pretty crazy finale.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I will say I'm having a little trouble getting past J.K. Simmons' voice.
Really?
Because I know him from so many other things.
Yeah.
And
people love him in this.
And I think I like him a lot as an actor, but I haven't gotten used to him inside that body yet. So I'm still working on that.
Hopefully you will.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for listening to our 10 and 20. I said we were behind in time, but it actually wasn't. I think we finished there right on time.
No, yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So game number 2 for us. We're going to give 5 to 10 words, and you give me the movie, and you're going to give me 5 to 10 words, and a movie, and you're going to have to explain this game because I don't quite get it.
So here we go. I'm going to give you a word.
Yeah.
And you are going to quickly associate that with a movie or a show.
Okay.
Or even if it happens a specific episode, whatever it may be. But you're just going to tell me the first thing that you think of. And if the first thing you think of isn't great, maybe you can ponder for a second or two.
So this is a word association game.
Yeah.
Where am I giving? Are my answers movies or shows, or are my answers a response to each of those?
No, I will give you a word, and you're going to give me a movie or a show.
Okay. All right.
And then maybe quickly why or
all right. Switching
like that.
Also, I forgot my tripod as I traveled out here to see and record, and so now my left arm is numb, and I'm going to switch hands.
Yeah. All right. There we go. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. First word, overhated.
Oh, that's a good one. Overhated. I'm going to say the Schneiderverse is my reaction there.
Somehow I knew you were going to go there.
Did you? Okay, yeah. Well, we've had similar conversations about this in the past. You and I are both Schneiderverse apologists.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't get the hate on Schneiderverse. I don't even get the dislike, to be honest. I definitely didn't like post Zack Schneider expressions of the Schneiderverse. But Man of Steel, yeah. Batman v Superman v Batman, Batman v Superman,
yeah.
And his cut of the Justice League, I thoroughly enjoy all 3 of those films.
Yeah, I think all 3 of them are phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, next
and
word.
I think, by the way, the first Wonder Woman film fits really nicely in there.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Next word, whimsical.
Whimsical.
I used that word earlier in this episode.
You did. You did, yeah.
Casually using whimsical twice in 30 minutes.
This is what would I say for whimsical? Well, I guess I'm gonna go with Narnia. We talked about the Narnia series. I've always felt that was somewhat of a whimsical. I definitely see it as childlike, and to me, it brings me back to my childhood, and so I'm gonna go with the Narnia book series.
I think it's a great answer, and I would agree with you. Next word, stressful.
Yeah, that's a good one too. There's a handful of shows that have just come out, and I'm getting a lot of marketing for it on either Netflix, particularly on Netflix, and one particularly that everyone is talking about right now that is called Adolescence, and I am not going to watch it. I don't care. It's like #1 trending show on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stay completely away from it. It's parents in peril as their son has been accurately or inaccurately arrested and accused of murdering another 12-year-old against 12-year-old kind of crime. And it just seems like, my mind and heart rate could do without this nonsense. So
fair enough. Next, aesthetic.
aesthetic, I'm going to go with Wicked. I feel like this film has gotten a lot of hate, so this is also maybe somewhat overhated as well. At least this one part. This film's got a lot of hate for the lighting and some of the color grading, some of the special effects. And I didn't feel that once. And I'll say this: I had even heard those reviews before seeing the film.
Yeah, me too.
And as I watched it, I found myself completely forgetting that critique and coming out of it going, oh yeah, I heard the color grading was not good in this film. It didn't bother me at all. So I'm going to go with Wicked.
Yeah. One of the best movies of the year.
I agree. And I thought the aesthetically incredibly pleasing.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Next, overrated.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Star Wars Rebels.
Have you even watched it?
Yes, I've tried multiple times, and I've gotten through at least like a season and a half. I don't get it. I mean, I find it entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but I guess what really bugs the crap out of me is a certain generation of Star Wars fans that act like Rebels is the holy grail of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
and that if you don't watch Rebels, then do you really watch Star Wars, dude? You know, kind of thing. And I just don't buy it. It's fine. But, you know, most of the characters don't feel great. And I guess I would say that I also feel that way generally about a lot of the Filoni stuff. I think the more Filoni gets, the less that I find it fascinating and connected to Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of those shows that gets better the further into it you get. And I would actually say it really takes a step up about a little more than halfway through the second season. So you might have cut off right before it starts to get good, but
yeah. But kind of Breaking Bad action.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Right along those lines. But
yeah.
I can respect it.
Okay.
Next word is going to be transcendent.
Transcendent. That's a good one. What would I say is transcendent? Yeah. I don't have that one right off the bat.
We can come back to it if you'd like.
Yeah, let's come back to it. But I'm curious if you have an answer to transcendent.
I do, but it won't be one that I think you agree with. But, we'll come back to it.
No. Give me yours.
For me, it's gonna be Interstellar. I just saw it in IMAX, and it almost felt like a religious experience sitting in that IMAX theater watching this movie. It doesn't feel like a movie. It doesn't feel like it fits in that category for me, and I feel like it feels transcendent. Just in every way, the whole time, just tears in your eyes, super hyped, super stressed, great storytelling. So for me, that's my go-to movie when I think about that. I know you're not as keen on it as I am.
No, I mean, I don't dislike it at all. I really enjoyed the film. I don't put it quite as high on his filmography, high up in his filmography as you do, but I do really enjoy the film. I have no hate for that film at all.
Yeah.
I think like, I don't know a single person that came out of that the first time going like, oh yeah, it made perfect sense to me.
No, definitely not.
So it's definitely one that you have to watch 2-3 times, but I think that all of Nolan's films reward rewatch.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's the best part about those movies. You
absolutely.
Just keep watching.
They're incredibly layered.
So
all right, what's your next word? How many words do I have to come up with here, man? I'm
well,
old and tired. I've been on the road all day.
10. I mean,
okay, all right. Keep going. What do you got for me?
I'll give you 3 more. Okay,
3 more.
Feel good. What is a feel good movie for you?
The Greatest Showman. I'm with a couple answers now, obviously revealing my own personal bias toward musicals. And I don't know. There's just something about that movie. It is a bit, saccharine at times, a bit sugary.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it. And it's just one of those things where I just kind of walk out going like, yeah, you know what? There's hope for humanity.
No, I feel good every time I watch that movie.
There's hope for humanity.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And so I feel like definitely, if I'm in like a funk where I'm just like, what is going on? And I just need to watch something that I know is going to make me, not like that adolescent show that I'm going to not watch, or Euphoria or something like that, where I just kind of I walk away from that going like, oh, the world is ending. The Greatest Showman is something that's going to bring me out of that and put me in a good mood and make me hug the next 15 people I see and just be like, you are loved, my friend. You are loved.
Yeah. Well, kind of going back to what you just said a little bit then, what is a movie that you have seen that you would say is gut-wrenching?
Oh. Gut-wrenching film that I've seen. Well, I I recently rewatched Schindler's List, and I was I was reminded of a number of things about the film that I had forgotten. One, how funny it is at times. There's a remarkable amount of humor. One might call it gallows humor, dark humor, in that film. There are times when Spielberg is just such a good storyteller that you can't help but laugh. I mean, the characters themselves are literally making jokes, but there are other moments where you're like the reality of this genocide, and the world's resistance to acknowledge it and recognize it was happening at the time, and even since, is just it's really difficult at times to get through. So,
Yeah.
but it's rewarding in other ways as a film. So I don't find it like stressful the way I found those other things.
But it is gut-wrenching.
But it is one of those gut wrenching
Yeah,
kind of films.
absolutely. All right, last word. Here we
Okay.
go. Hate.
Oh.
And this is different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna go back to our Star Wars theme today, and I'm going to say that I hate Revenge of the Sith.
This is going to be perfect rage bait.
Could be the Clone Wars. I mean, I hate them both.
You mean
actually.
Attack of the Clones?
Attack of the Clones. Yes, sorry, not the Clone Wars. I actually like the Clone Wars as a show, though I also think it's a little overrated. But Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith are two films that I just absolutely despise, and I think that Star Wars has rarely recovered from the damage that was done from particularly those two films. Oddly enough, I can stomach a Phantom Menace. It is problematic, there's no doubt. But there are parts of the Phantom Menace that I actually quite love and that I still feel like are very Star Warsy.
Oh, I know you love the midichlorians.
Well, I hate the midichlorians. But obviously the Duel of the Fates, even podcast racing, the relationship between Qui-Gon and Qui-Gon in general. I love Qui-Gon. He's one of my favorite characters.
He's amazing.
And he's, it's amazing that for the most part he shows up in really only, one subpar film. But Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I absolutely despise them. It makes me insane. They're unwatchable. They're both unwatchable. And what I also don't get is why or how Revenge of the Sith shows up so high on so many Star Wars fans' lists. In terms, I mean, oftentimes 4. I think it's your number 4.
Yeah, it might be. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely up there. You guys are going to hear a lot of prequel hate from this guy.
Yeah.
So just prepare yourselves.
Well, they deserve it.
I think you did pretty good there. I mean, you're definitely a little slow, but
Yeah. Well, it's
No
our
biggie.
first time trying this game.
no biggie, no
Yeah.
biggie.
So, but yeah, we'll have to switch roles next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll pepper you with the questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
That'll wrap that up and take us into our list of the week.
All right. The list of the week.
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
This week we are going to be ranking the live action Batman movies.
Live action.
Um,
We're skipping all the animated.
all animated out of this, including the Lego Batman movie, which is a really great movie, by the way.
It is. It's typically that, and at least one of the animated movies is pretty high on the list.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw a list recently where Lego Batman was ranked number 2 supposedly by fans. I feel like
Well, I always joke a little bit and say that it's the best Batman movie, but
yeah,
it's not. But it's great.
I have heard people say that. I disagree.
Also not on this list is going to be the Justice League movies, both cuts, and the most recent Flash movie. We're looking for movies that specifically have Batman or the Dark Knight in the name, live action.
Okay.
So,
all right. You want to go first?
yeah.
Okay.
Should I go with my last place or my first place? We'll go last place first. I
Okay.
think.
Yeah. You're gonna count up or
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to start with the worst, in my
Okay. What do
opinion.
you say is the worst?
It's going to be Batman the movie from 1966. Nothing particularly wrong other than it's just way too campy for me. It's just really hard for me to get through. I've only seen it the one time. I can appreciate it for what it is, but it's never anything that I'm ever going to turn on again.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. It's a little, well, not a little. It's way, way before my time.
I'm just going to come out and say it. I had it low, but not that low. I have that movie ranked at 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
And I think for me, see, I grew up on the Batman TV show, which the film was essentially an adaptation or an extension of the Batman TV show. And so to me, growing up, in many ways, Batman, my first exposure to Batman was that campiness
Yeah.
and that cheesiness. And so the film, it definitely takes things up a notch. But I mean, watching that show, and that was like a regular, like come home from school, turn on the TV, and that Batman TV show was on.
Yeah.
Like every day it was on. So it's not good. You're right. And I definitely prefer my Dark Knight nice and dark.
Yeah.
But I have that one. I think there are a few films that are less watchable.
For example,
My number 10 is Batman and Robin. I mean, again, that falls into me as like Attack of the Clones level unwatchable. Like
it's just
when
worst.
where we have an over reliance on bat nipples and a bat card, a bat credit card, and skates and boots that pop into. I mean, it's just so bad. It really almost to me was the perfect storm of blending what Tim Burton did in reimagining Batman in the 80s with what was done in that 1966 film. It's too strange of a combination.
Yeah. It's just the worst.
It really is.
But the only reason I have it higher is I think there's an aspect of it that's just so bad that you could throw it on every once in a while and just laugh at how bad it is if you're with the right group of people.
Right. I get that, but see, to me, the difference is that the 66 film wasn't taking itself seriously.
Right. No, it's absolutely
and
true.
this film is trying to take itself seriously. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance is meant to be taken in some way like we're supposed to be afraid of him, and every word out of his mouth is laughable.
Freeze.
Yeah, it's not good. So you had Batman and Robin ranked where?
9. So just
close,
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
my number 9 was Batman Forever,
which is my 8. So we're right around the same.
We're in that same zone, and so I guess our 8, 9, 10 are basically the same, with the exception of the fact that I've pulled Batman 66 up above the other two. What are your thoughts on Batman and Robin? Obviously, I mean, as low as it is on both of our lists.
I mean, everything you said I agree with. So I don't even really need to add to it. I just think it's the worst, and it's just comically bad. And for me, Batman Forever is just kind of a step up, but not much. There's some interesting things towards the beginning where I remember throwing it on for the first time, like being a little older and being like, wait, this actually isn't so horrible. And then it kind of just really goes off the deep end in the second half or the second and third act. But it's not much better than Batman and Robin.
Yeah, it's interesting. What I can tell you about its timing was that, Michael Keaton had decided to not come back to the franchise. Val Kilmer was definitely on a bit of a hot streak. But not just Val Kilmer. Jim Carrey was like blowing up. And Tommy Lee Jones had reemerged as this dynamic villain.
Yeah.
And so the casting just was like, oh wow, they've got all these like heavy hitters together. Nicole Kidman was at the height of her powers, I feel like, although she's probably still pretty powerful in terms of her influence in prestige film. But just like every single one of them didn't work. In fact, I think that Kilmer is potentially my least favorite Batman. I actually think that George Clooney was a better Batman. He just had a worse script and was part of a worse film. But in terms of his actual performance as Batman, I think Clooney's better than Kilmer.
I think that's a pretty wild take.
Yeah. Well,
but
there you go.
Fair enough.
I lived through this hell, my son.
Yeah.
I lived through it.
So that's our 10, 9, and 8.
Yeah.
In the 7 slot, I have Batman Returns. I know that that's a little controversial. I
Way
don't know.
too low. Way too low.
I don't know what it is. I can't. I've seen it several times, and I just never get the appeal. I'm not a huge Tim Burton guy. I think that's probably part of it. He's not really my favorite aesthetic.
It was
or
definitely
vibe.
It was definitely a vibe of for a solid decade there with his movies.
Yeah, and I just don't think I really grew up on that, and so I think just all of his movies in general, and then both of his Batman movies, I have low to the point it's going to make some people angry.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman
Iconic.
to me is iconic. Yeah, I mean she, yeah. I mean, I that movie I single-handedly grew up many years just because of her in that film. And I think that, and there's definitely a bit of there's a bit of an over the top aspect to Danny DeVito's performance. I never loved it. He's the weak point of the film to me. But Christopher Walken and Michelle Pfeiffer, and then Michael Keaton continues, in my opinion, to be iconic. So I really quite like that one. I'm going to tell you, I have that one at number 5,
which is actually not too far off. That's
No,
just 2 slots.
No, but there's a big drop off. I feel like after so
It's fair. I know it's a controversial take.
Yeah,
I know that. What do you have in the 7 slot?
I have Batman v Superman in the number 7 slot.
Yeah.
Which I already specified that I quite like. So I think for me, 7 up are all really solid.
Yeah.
But I think that if I have to rank it with the others, combining film quality and nostalgia, for me, that one is in the 7 slot. I do quite like it, and I think also. I hated the casting of Ben Affleck. I thought it was a terrible choice.
Yeah.
But in his two film portrayals and a few other little pop-up spots that he shows up in with like the Flash movie and things like that, like I actually found myself really thinking that he was a really good Batman.
Yeah.
Much better than I ever thought, and I felt like I had to eat my words. So I think that's also a controversial take. I think a lot of people hate him as Batman.
But he has the people that he has the ride or die fans for sure.
But I'm not one of them.
No, I mean as Batman.
Yeah, okay. But generally, like I'm not I don't have season tickets to Ben Affleck.
It's fair enough. All right, moving on to the 6th slot. I have, again, controversial, Batman, the other Michael Keaton movie. Again, it's too goofy for me. And it's not played goofy. It's played seriously.
It is also played goofy. No, I totally disagree with you. I think that what Burton did is he found the perfect marriage between the Dark Knight comic, Frank Miller's comic, and the original series. He really, with that film, he reinvents the superhero genre, and we are still in that age. We are still very much in that age. Black leather suits.
Yeah.
A much more adult level of violence and drama. But I think like Frank Miller did that in the comics, and then Tim Burton found the right marriage between Adam West and that Dark Knight comic series, and I think it is at times purposely campy. I think you can see that in the choice even of Prince to do the soundtrack, and in a lot of the ways of the Joker. I think the Joker is very much Jack Nicholson doing Jack Nicholson mixed with Cesar Romero, who played the Joker in the original series on TV. And he is playing it as a clown, but a gangster clown. And I think it's so I think personally that it is campy at times on purpose, and I have it ranked number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Let's get nuts.
Yeah. So exactly. and again, so Keaton was also a really controversial choice, but to me, Keaton's Batman.
I mean, it's just too much of having to turn the whole body.
Well, again, yeah, yeah, but there's a certain level of realism to that.
So what do you have in the 6th slot then?
In 6, I have Dark Knight Rises, the third Nolan film.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I think it suffers in a few ways. It is a bit overpacked at times. There are times when the sound quality, the mix is really difficult.
Yeah.
Not just with Bane's voice, but with other people as well.
You think so?
And I have it has in it a scene that for me I think is meant to be pivotal in the film, but for me is a pet peeve of mine, and that is the football scene. I really struggle when movies try and do what looks like realistic football, and but they don't have the rights to the NFL,
right.
And so they have to come up with these sort of fake-looking teams that end up looking like Canadian Football League teams.
I think it's
or
supposed to be a college
Either
team.
way, it didn't look real.
Doesn't look real.
It really throws me off, and we're supposed to really feel the drama of the stadium imploding and everything, and that part really pulls me out.
Yeah.
And I am an Anne Hathaway fan. Not my favorite performance of hers.
No, it's not the best.
So for those reasons, I have it ranked lower than
For
the
those
other.
reasons,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 6.
Yeah, fair enough.
Where do you have that one ranked?
Dark Knight Rises, I actually have in 3, which I know is also
Yeah.
pretty controversial.
I think that's high.
Well, that kind of leads me into my number 5. And
Okay.
5, I have Batman Begins, and most people
Ooh.
will definitely have
Yeah.
this over Dark Knight Rises.
I do for sure.
Yeah. The thing is well, I won't talk about Dark Knight Rises. I'll talk about it when it comes up for me. But Batman Begins, let me be clear. I adore this movie. I think it's phenomenal. I love Ra's al Ghul. I love the whole twist with his character. I love the whole origin of Batman. I think they handle everything really well. For me, I think the only reason it's a little lower is I just feel like they got better at portraying Batman, at portraying action, and all these different things. And I think that movie kind of struggles a little bit in certain areas. And that's the only reason I have it a little lower. But I really do enjoy this movie very, very much. I think it's phenomenal. And I already said earlier that Nolan's probably my favorite director. So I definitely don't dislike this movie at all.
I'm curious to know where you rank all 3 of his Batman films in his own filmography. We'll have to do that in another episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because to me, as much as I like them, they also stand out like a sore thumb.
No, I absolutely agree. They are lower for me.
Yeah, in the list of in his total filmography, they are strange outliers. Okay, so I know I kind of gasped when you said that you had it at 6 or 5. I only have it at 4, so we're not far off. But that's because the rest of the list I think is so good in my opinion. And I've already told you my number 2, which was 80s Tim Burton Batman. But yeah, no, I think it's great. I will say for me, the strength of the Nolan Batman series is in its villains and not in Batman. I think for me, if I'm ranking my Batman, Christian Bale is much lower on my list of Batman.
Absolutely, I'd agree.
Despite how much I like all 3 of the films.
Unfortunately, he's probably the least interesting part of each of his movies.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that is unfortunate.
And he's a good actor too, and there's so many things that I love him in, and
he's a phenomenal
I just
actor.
think that he's definitely the least interesting thing. Well, so for me, so I had that at 4, so we need to go to your 4.
Yeah, well, in your 5 you had Batman Returns, but we already talked about that.
Right. Yes.
So yeah, in my 4 is where I have Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Never ever understood the hate for this movie, especially if you're watching the director's cut, which I think is even better.
Yeah.
By a substantial margin, actually. I think it's a really great movie. I think most of everybody's issue with it is the portrayal of Superman, even though they love Henry Cavill. I think they think it's just too bleak. And it's actually one of the things that I really appreciate about this movie is it is bleak, and there are consequences to all of Metropolis being destroyed and real life unrest.
I do too, yeah. I mean, to me, I think that's one of the reasons that the Marvel series and the Avengers particularly works is because they destroy New York, and then the repercussions of that film
are
echo
still
for 10, 15 films later.
Absolutely.
They didn't just like write it off the way they did in some ways with Sokovia. I know that obviously they did come back to the whole Sokovia thing with the Civil War and what the was there, but you're right, in so many of these other superhero movies, I mean, cities are literally lifted up off the ground and dropped and destroyed, nuked by aliens.
And then we move on.
And then we move on. We forget about it. So to me, I feel like he did for Superman what Burton did for Batman, and he made Superman more real for me. Prior to the Snyderverse Superman, I was never a big Superman fan.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed him in the animated series, but I was never anywhere near Superman being my favorite superhero. But I do have to say, one of the greatest things about Batman v Superman is it gives us the best Batman action scene ever put to screen.
You think?
In that warehouse, I mean, dude.
It's great. There's no doubt.
It's amazing. Just watch it again. Watch it again, and you won't be able to come up with one that's even close. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's amazing.
I'm going to have to take a look at that and think that through, but I do really like that scene a lot. I think that Zack Snyder solved what I consider to be like the Superman conundrum.
Yeah.
Which is that when you have essentially God as the hero of your film, the stakes are not there. There's no drama.
Right.
Like he can defeat anyone.
Yeah.
And as soon as he can't, it starts to feel unbelievable. So I feel like I feel like Schneider did a really good job of making it feel more real and creating stakes.
I think it's a great take on the universe for sure.
I agree. So that gets us through 4. We're down to the top 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of mine is already revealed.
And mine is also actually.
No,
it's not.
I think your top 3 are still unrevealed. So we're pretty close, but not so much, I guess. Okay, so your number 3 is?
My number 3 is The Dark Knight Rises.
Right, which we've already covered for me at 6.
But I
what did you want to add?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a black sheep. I think a lot of people have negative opinions of this movie altogether. And I will admit there are some plot holes in this movie that are somewhat glaring the more you watch, but I can't deny the way that this movie makes me feel every time I watch this movie, by the time it's over, I feel like I'm ready to run through a brick wall. And that I think Christopher Nolan just really does such a great job in this movie and The Dark Knight at just building and building and building to an ending that just leaves you feeling completely satisfying, ready for another one, and just excited with everything you got to witness right before. So for me, I think this movie's great. I love Tom Hardy in general, but I love him as Bane. And I think just the ending of this movie just elevates this movie for me. And I know it's kind of controversial, but I love the way it makes me feel.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we've covered that one pretty well. In the 3rd spot, I have The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
As that you just referenced. And it's 3 for me because I have Burton's Batman in the 2 slot, as we already mentioned.
Rarely do you see this outside of the top 2.
I know. For me, but again, like Burton's Batman was seminal to me. Absolutely, this film was incredibly powerful. One of those films, like certain Fincher movies, for me that just afterwards I could not stop thinking about. Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, and the Joker, and not just him, but also I would say even Two-Face, everything related to Two-Face.
I agree.
I have watched this film so many times that, similar to a couple other films that are really high up on in my favorites list, and had a similar impact, I've watched it at the point where now, I have identified every single flaw in it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And not one of which did I see in the first 5 viewings, kind of thing. But
right.
But now I've get to the point, so I have to kind of talk myself out of focusing on those flaws. But
they're there, but it doesn't take away from the movie. I'll touch on it because it's my number 2, so right above this. I think it's just phenomenal. The opening scene is one of the best. Heath Ledger's performance is phenomenal. Two-Face is also incredible. You have the interrogation scene. You have the highway chase scene. You have the scene between the 2 boats, the one with the prisoners and the one with civilians. I mean, this movie is just phenomenal. And
and an actual jump scare, like when that body hits the window.
Oh my God!
I mean, every time I watch it, it catches me off guard every single time.
I mean, I was probably not quite a teenager when I first watched that movie. Maybe I was a teenager, but I just about crapped my pants when that happened.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And then with the video recording that he does too, it's truly terrifying.
It really was.
Performance.
It really was. It upped the stakes in a massive way. So, I mean, so for me, like I said, my number 2 Batman and The Dark Knight at 3, for me, they propelled the genre. Yeah. Not just the character, Batman, who's personally my favorite superhero. They propelled the genre of superhero films to a new level. So I think that personally, Nolan could run because Burton walked, and I think that there's a natural progression there. Like he took it to another level, but at the same time, to me, the real big difference is that I think that Batman and Bruce Wayne is the reason why Burton's Batman is as good as it is. Whereas for me, The Dark Knight, I think that unfortunately, Batman is the weak point of the film.
Yeah, I can agree with that. We kind of touched on that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And now that we also know each other's number 2s already in Dark Knight and Batman, so we don't even really need to touch on those.
Yeah. So that leaves one film, which we obviously both then have in the number 1 slot.
And I have
to reveal?
Yeah, absolutely. And people could do the math. I think it's The Batman. I have to say this is a somewhat more recent development for me. I've gone back and forth between The Dark Knight and this movie as my favorite. I've like truly just gone back and forth, and I have to say, like, since the Batman has come out, I have rewatched it as I have felt the desire to rewatch it as often, at least, as I want to rewatch The Dark Knight. I think it just rewatches so well. I love the aesthetic of it, just the noir, the dark and gritty. I love the narration. I love all of the villain performances. I love every performance in this movie. I don't think there's a weak one, and I think Robert Pattinson. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. I think people are starting to see that more recently.
Yeah.
But when he was cast as Batman, similar to Ben Affleck, it was like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? And I think he just did an amazing job.
Well, I think the irony is that three of my favorite Batman performances were all actors that didn't make sense on paper.
Yeah.
With Keaton, Affleck, and Pattinson. Whereas the ones that made sense on paper, honestly, Clooney made sense on paper. Val Kilmer made sense.
And those are horrible
on paper, and they're not good.
No.
Right? And we're missing somebody. Who am I missing here?
No.
Nobody. Okay.
No, that's it. At least in terms of the movies, yeah.
So I agree. I mean, this is another one where I hated the idea that Pattinson was going to be in this, but I hadn't moved past Pattinson from Twilight at that point.
Not many
hadn't seen him.
The general public had not.
Yeah. Hadn't seen him in the Safdie brothers films or The Lighthouse or any of these others. So it was only later that I kind of also started to figure out that he was much better than he thought.
Yeah.
I'll say this too. To me, it's like, so it's really two characters, right? He's Bruce Wayne and he's Batman.
Yeah.
And all that there's a duality to all these. Some of them are really great, like right down the middle. They're like, for me, they're good on both sides. To me, that's Keaton.
Yeah.
Even though I have this as number one, I think that Pattinson's a better Batman than he is a Bruce Wayne. His Bruce Wayne's a little emo for me at times, but he's not a bad Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He's just, I think he's so much like, he puts on the cowl and it's everything I've always wanted in a Batman. It's taken up. You and I have talked several times about this, like my sort of dream scenario is like the Batman horror film.
Yeah.
And really taking, like the Arkham Asylum game to an even heavier level. I think this gets pretty close for me.
Yeah. I mean,
and the performance of the Riddler.
Amazing. And just to touch on your point, I think with him being a little too emo or whatever, I definitely think it's almost intentional for him to not quite be the best Bruce Wayne yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, it plays a part in the story where he is realizing that Batman's not going to get him in the door that he needs to get into. He has to be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And by the end of this movie, he has a different look on who Batman is, and I think he's starting to realize the same with Bruce Wayne, that he has to put on this persona to be Bruce Wayne, because that's not really how he is. He's much more like Batman than he is like Bruce. And I have to say the other thing, touching on your Batman horror movie, the opening scene of this movie is maybe my favorite opening scene in any superhero movie ever.
You think so? For you, it outpaces the opening of The Dark Knight.
It does. It far and away, to be honest. I mean, just the whole monologue he has with how the signal is it's not just a call, but it's a warning, and they think he's in the shadows, but he is the shadows. And then when we finally see him step out of the shadows, but even before then, every person doing something wrong, seeing the light in the sky and then looking to their side, looking into the shadows, and you keep expecting him to come out, and he's not. But it's like it really puts you in the paranoia of somebody committing a crime in Gotham. And then when he finally does,
the whole thing with the it's not the mayor, it's the district attorney,
DA, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, amazing opening scene.
Well, I mean, to me, again, going back to influences, I think one of the things that I love so much about both The Dark Knight and The Batman is I think they're both heavily influenced by maybe my favorite director in Fincher.
Yeah.
They both feel like
Definitely
they are
this movie.
taking from Fincher. There's a little bit of Seven. There's a little bit of Panic Room.
A little bit of Zodiac.
There's
too.
a little bit of Zodiac. Like literally with the symbol.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, yeah, to me, it's like the perfect marriage of like what I get out of an amazing Fincher film, and then to get that from Nolan, and it's pretty cool. But yeah, so I also have the Batman as my number one, which I feel like it's controversial. It's controversial to me.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I agree.
It surprises me every time I have to like
I feel
realize
dirty
that.
saying
yeah.
it, but I adore the movie.
Yeah,
I really do.
I really do. Also,
The more time I spend with it, the more and more I adore it, and
Yeah.
I just have to come to terms with the fact that it's my favorite Batman movie.
yeah. All right. Well, we didn't exactly find consensus,
No,
but we did more often.
we
than
had
not.
similar endings and
Yeah,
similar
yeah.
beginnings.
We did.
It's
we
just our middle that's
we definitely
a little
number
messy.
one. We agree on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that finishes up our list of the week, and that list of the week is brought to you by no one, but hopefully it'll be brought to you by somebody in the future. All right. To finish us off, we're gonna do a quick movie quote challenge here.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
So the quote that I'm going to give you is, "Come find me when you wake up."
Ooh. Come find me when you wake up. The immediate thought I had, oh, dude, this one it's itching my brain. It's on the tip of my tongue. I want to say Inception, but it doesn't feel quite right because I can't picture the scene. Come find me when you wake up is, shoot, dude, this one's going to bug me. I can't spend too long here. I'll think about it for a few more seconds.
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah,
It's delivered by a woman to a man.
to a man. So I'm gonna give you my guess, and I will say that this did pretty immediately pop into my head, but I couldn't picture the scene. I
Okay.
could still be wrong. Is this Edge of Tomorrow?
It
Live, Die,
is.
Repeat?
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Edge of
Yeah.
Tomorrow. One of my favorites. I think super. Going back to your quote about underrated.
Seriously.
Super underrated. It is
Phenomenal.
this year 10 years old.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. And
The movie that went through
we're-
3 or 4 different names.
Yeah, I was going to say we're both calling it by its original title of Edge of Tomorrow, not Live, Die, Repeat.
I think now it's Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat.
Yes. I think they've combined them both.
Yeah.
But yeah, Emily Blunt to Tom Cruise. I'm a reluctant Tom Cruise fan. Like a lot of same with Leo. Like there are certain movies that I love that he's in despite him.
Right.
This is
This is one of them.
but the thing is that Tom Cruise is pretty good at playing is pretty good at playing douchey.
Yeah.
And I feel like I like him least when he's super self-serious.
Yeah.
In this one,
They let him be douchey.
they let him be douchey and it works. And then similar to this is like basically sci-fi Jerry Maguire in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like we see that redemption arc with him, unlike anything we ever see in most of the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
As an example. But anyway, yeah, Edge of Tomorrow, love it.
Severely underrated sci-fi
Severely
film.
underrated sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for yours?
Okay, give it to me.
All right. It is. Did I adequately answer your condescending question?
Ooh. I know this line. Why am I not?
I was going to give you another line from this movie, but I thought it might be a little too obvious.
Oh, dang it. It's also on the tip of my tongue. I tell you, old man brain. All of your games require me to have a really good memory.
I'm sharpening you.
Yeah, you're sharpening back up. I think you need to get me some multivitamins.
Dusting you off a little bit.
Yeah.
If you need a hint, I'll give you a hint,
Yeah,
but it might give it away.
And some fish oil. Go ahead. Give me. I'll take a hint.
Well, I'll just tell you right away. It's from one of your favorite directors. We've been talking about him a little bit.
Oh yeah, this is a Fincher film.
Yeah.
Yes. Did I adequately answer your condescending question? Ooh. Okay, so it's definitely. Oh, this is Fight Club.
That is incorrect.
Oh, dang it. Dang it.
It is The Social Network.
Oh, yeah, that's
Mark
right.
Zuckerberg.
In the courtroom.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah. I was thinking of that scene with Norton and his boss in the.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh.
The other quote I almost did was the one where he says something to the extent of, he's like, I'm just checking your math real quick. Yeah, I got the same thing.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. Have you ever so Social Network, not only directed by Fincher, but famously written by Aaron Sorkin, one of my favorite television writers and screenwriters. You should at some point Google or go to YouTube and look up Aaron Sorkin line repetition.
Okay.
Somebody's done like a supercut. He as good of a writer as he is,
Uses the same lines
he
over and
has
over?
a really bad habit of when he crafts just a beautiful line, he has no shame about using that same line 2 or 3 times in other shows or movies.
That's funny.
And the one in that same scene about I could like turn the whatever house into my ping pong room or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he used that line in another in Studio 60, I think.
If it's not broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has this really strange habit of doing that, but I'm also a big Aaron Sorkin fan, so I've seen all of those shows.
Yeah.
And once you like, sometimes the line doesn't pop in one show, and I think maybe that's what it is. It's like, oh, that was a better line. It deserves another chance, and then he moves it into another
fair enough
show. So
I think
that was
we'll
the case with that
definitely.
one.
I think we'll have to talk about The Social Network at some point because
we
another
need
phenomenal movie.
Yeah, we need to do a Fincher list pretty soon.
Absolutely.
As well. Yeah. Okay. Well, not a bad episode, and also since we're doing this face to face for the first time, we did a decent job of figuring it out, right?
Yeah, I thought it went great. Even we might have some disagreements here and there, but that's kind of the point of this, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was good recording with you. It's good for me to give you some good knowledge, and for you to embarrass me about my lack of memory.
Yes.
But anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. This is the I Am Your Father podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please spread the word, subscribe, and stay on. Keep listening for more movie and TV talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Until next time, may your popcorn be buttery and the force be with you.